Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Optimized Ecommerce Podcast. I'm Tanner Larson, your host. And today we're going to be talking about something quite interesting with a very interesting guest. All right. So the guest is actually one of the Build, Grow, Scale team. His name is Brad Owens. All right. Now, the cool thing about Brad is not only does he work with BGS and he's one of our optimization experts, but Brad actually started out as a customer of BGS and had his own e-commerce store, had his own retail business, and really has been in the physical product space in the e-commerce world on his own for quite a while before coming to the BGS world. So what we're going to talk about today and what Brad is going to be telling us about today is common mistakes that newbies and beginners in the e-commerce space seem to make kind of over and over again, and why they make them, how to avoid them, and just some of the big things that are out there when it comes to what we see that beginners are doing. So Brad, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks. Glad to be here.
So, Brad, to kind of kick this off, why don't we back it up a little bit before we get into the questions of all the mistakes and all the things and that kind of stuff? Let's talk about your story. So how did e-commerce start for you? How did you find BGS? Why did you find BGS? And then why did you wind up working with us? And then what did you do? Kind of cover the whole thing.
Okay, so I started, my journey started probably in the early 2000s. And I was on eBay and also did a little bit with Amazon. And at that time, Amazon had auctions and they had what was called Z shops, I think, Z stores or Z shops, which were horrible. And they're like really bad. And then I started a store using 3D Cart. And at the time, you didn't have Shopify. They weren't around. I don't think BigCommerce was. So it was really limited with your options. So I did 3D Cart and along with the other marketplaces, did really well. And I got to the point where in 2010, I opened up a retail store. So we were in the Mall of Georgia. It was kind of a combination of a Hot Topic with like banned and licensed merchandise along with a comic book store. So we had that lasted for probably 8 years. In 2018. I decided for a lot of different reasons just not to renew my lease and just stay home and do the ecom full time. And once I did that, I noticed that everything's changed. It had been a while. I was still doing Amazon, but as far as like e-commerce store, I was just really kind of rusty. Like Shopify, I didn't even know anything about it. So started my Shopify store. Started looking for help, really, for direction, because you have all these apps and all these other things with Shopify that I didn't have before. And that's when I found out about this book that I read. I was like, oh, this is awesome. And so I read the book and then ended up joining EI. And that kind of led me to where I'm at now, being a revenue optimization expert.
So to back up, the book Brad read is the one you can see with the green cover on the back there, the version 1 of e-commerce evolved, which version 2 is about to come out. So I'm excited about that. But he read that book, found BGS through that. And then when he said EI, he's talking about Ecom Insider, which is our mentoring program, guided business accelerator program, where we help stores that are established go from good to great and really dial things in. So you started working with us as far as like a customer, and then we launched the internship program, and something about that caught your fancy, right? And then you joined the internship program.
Yes, I was at a point with my business where I actually was doing too well, because I had a part-time employee, and we really went heavy into subscription boxes, and I overcomplicated my boxes, and they were selling too well to where it was going to be like a massive investment of money and time to keep it going, because I was going to have to hire more employees. I was going to have to get warehouse space. I was going to have to get pallets of products, but not just pallets of products, but pallets of products from all these different vendors. Because again, I overcomplicated my box. And I was at a point I really don't want to do this. So then the internship, opportunity arrived. And that's when I was like, okay, this will be awesome. I really want to be part of the BGS team.
Cool. So yeah, now and from there, like Brad's become one of our revenue optimization experts. So he works in our Amplified Partner program, helping our client and partner stores really dial in and scale through optimization. And the other thing is Brad is also, since he came from EI, he's still very involved in the Ecom Insider program. He's helping us launch our beginner's course, Ecom Academy, later this month. And he's been he's still very heavily involved in helping both of those programs grow as well. So he's got his hands in a lot of different pots in BGS, but that also gives him, aside from his own experience, some rather unique abilities and insights into what's kind of going on in the world of e-commerce as people kind of start to build and grow their stores. So why don't we dive into that? What was let's start there, your biggest mistake when you started?
Okay, when I say started, I'm talking about when I closed my retail store and started with Shopify. Because I had all this other previous experience, but nothing with Shopify.
Okay.
So my biggest mistake, and this is really from a conversion optimization perspective too, is I had shiny object syndrome where, I had apps. And with 3D Cart, you didn't have apps. Everything, and you may now, I don't know, but back then, any functionality was part of a new release or new version of the software. It wasn't modular at all.
Mm-hmm.
So with Shopify, there's all these apps there, and I just wanted to add everything to it.
Yep.
And which is like better, really,
right?
Yeah. I mean, you see everything looks awesome, all these reviews, and you just want to have an amazing store. So you add all these apps, but it does a couple of really bad things. And you see it all the time in new stores too, is that, it looks like your store will end up looking like a Vegas casino from like the 70s and 80s with just all this flashing neon and lights, everywhere. And, it's just bad. You'll have like all these pop-up banners and like the little sliding pop-up from the bottom that says so-and-so just purchased from wherever. And, sliding reviews and countdown timers.
The shaky add to cart button, add to cart.
Yeah, the shaky add to cart, just all the stuff that's like, that really hurts conversions, drives people away. And the other thing too is like, as you load more and more apps, it really slows down your site. So it affects your site speed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another reason why you want to kind of narrow it down, just really focus on the apps that you really need to use. Each app needs to have a specific purpose.
Correct. So it's basically a case of more is not better, which we initially think is right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but my first reaction was like, okay, I just want to install everything.
Yeah, because if the more I have, the better it's going to be for the customer, right? The more money I'm going to make.
Right. And also like, when I join a Facebook group, I like never leave. And so I'm still in some beginner, like Shopify beginner Facebook groups. And you see that all the time. People will have like brand new stores. They're like, okay, I launched my store 2 weeks ago. I've had no sales. Why? And you look and it's the same thing. 30
apps installed.
Right.
Yeah. And we see that all the time. And even in Ecom Insider, much less in the beginners type programs, it's more a matter of what can we get rid of, and another piece of that would be that a lot of people install an app where it'd be much more beneficial to have a simple little bit of code added to modify their existing theme. They don't need all that bloat of an app. And, a lot of that comes down to, and Brad, this, but for those of you listening, you may not all apps are created equal in terms of how they're coded. There's no real guidelines or minimum requirements of functionality and code cleanliness or things like that required in an app, especially for the Shopify store. So a lot of these apps have a lot of really broken code, cause code conflicts, are very bloated in the way the code is written. So it takes a lot more server involvement in order to do a simple task. So in our case, Brad, right, you can back me up on this. We try to eliminate apps and replace it with clean code that mimics that stuff without the bloat of an app. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it can be hard to remove it too, because even if you delete an app, it's like on your laptop. If you just go in and delete a program, you still have all the code and everything on your laptop. You're not really uninstalling it. So it's kind of the same thing with an app. If you remove an app, a lot of times it will still leave all that code like in your store. It just slows it down. And that
code slows down the site and also can still cause code conflicts with the theme itself, right?
Exactly.
Cool. So that's a big mistake, obviously. But, obviously one of the reasons, and guys, this is just a little bit of backstory, but one of the reasons Brad is helping us with the beginner's course, which is called the Ecom Academy, and it's really more of a big A to Z program, was for years and years, Build, Grow, Scale has focused only on helping established stores get better. And we realized that we had all these people coming to us asking us about, hey, I want to start a store. Can you teach me? And we would always say, no, we can't. And, go find someone else to help you build a store, and then we'll come back to us and we'll fix it. And, Brad was part of the ones to go and say, hey guys, if BGS is so great at doing this, we have all this data that nobody else has. Why aren't we helping the beginners instead of basically saying, hey, go struggle and then come back, right? So what we did was we developed this beginners program to do that, because what we agreed, and through all of us and external resources and everything, that all these different guru programs and guru courses and all these things out there, there wasn't really a good one. None of them were ones that we would never recommend, like my sister, Brad's cousin, anybody that we cared about. We would never say, go get this course. This is what you need. So we set out to build that, and that's what Ecom Academy is. But now to the next question, which I kind of set the stage for, is what do you see people doing that are taught in a lot of these guru courses that we know to be wrong?
Okay, yeah. So when I first started, my site, and before I found out about BGS, I was getting targeted by all these different gurus. One of them, and you probably know who it is, but rented like a sailboat or a Lambo, and was like the second biggest, Shopify site ever. And I actually called the guy, and once he found out that I had a legit business, that I had all this e-com experience in retail and everything, he was totally not interested in me. And he's like, yeah, we're just, what we do is we're just drop shipping from China and Russia. And, we're just building you a general store, that you're going to target, with Facebook ads. And that is probably the number one thing is general stores, especially with drop shipping. You're just creating this store just full of miscellaneous stuff. And, general stores just do not work. I mean, you've got like Amazon and Walmart, and with
maybe Jet or Wayfair. That's about it, right?
That's about it. And even Amazon didn't start as a general store. They started selling books.
Correct.
So it just doesn't work, and it's not really trustworthy. I mean, your customers know that. They come on your site and they just see all this random stuff that's not related. All the pictures are totally different. There's no consistency with the site. And it's just a bad idea. You really want to build a legit brand. That's what you want to do. You want to go away from a general store and niche down, and then maybe even niche down further and develop your own brand, which is going to be like a long sustaining business. You do that.
And to kind of add to that a little bit, guys, as you're listening to this, the way that the general store is, there's two things with the general store. Number one, the reason gurus teach it is because it's way easier to not have to pick a niche and drill down and find products and a target audience. They can say, make a general store. It doesn't matter what it's about. Just make a store, add products. And then they say, just keep testing the product on your store until it sells. That's not a business, guys. That's like trying to find a one-hit wonder, like an income stream. But when you sell, that's where people upload all these products from these apps, and they have all 30,000 products, and they're in kitchen, they're in dining, they're basically the Walmart. But nobody is going to buy from you because you don't serve anyone. It's like casting a net in the ocean to catch fish. But instead of a net, it's just strings of rope that just dangle down. Everything can swim right through it. You got to tighten it up, and that's where the niche store comes in. So as an example of that, when we can niche and then niche down, like Brad said, let's say you sell mountain biking products, okay? But your store is marketed to, and your advertising is just to bikers, people who have bicycles. Well, there's a huge chunk of the market. There's actually, that is a road biker. There are also BMX bikers. There's all these different ones, downhill bikers, that are not interested in the mountain biking. So if you cast this super wide net to all bikers, you're wasting a ton of your money. You're wasting your market and everything else. Whereas if you just have a site dedicated to mountain biking, speaking only to mountain biking customers, running ads to mountain biking people, you're going to be much more successful. And that's really where Brad's going with this. And that general store is made because it's easy to teach you. It's sexy to teach you because it's like, oh, it's super easy. You can always find a new product. it's not the case, right?
Right, exactly. And it's still okay to test, but that's where like landing pages, like a funnel page is
Yep.
probably a better solution for testing instead of
Totally.
just building out a store.
Because the trust factor is not there. If you're selling a wine widget and then you're selling a TV, and then you're also selling a supplement, and then you're also selling rugs, and then also pillowcases, what are you? Why would I want to buy, if I'm trying to find something special for a wine person, I want to go to someone who actually speaks the wine business and is focused on that, right? And so where if you're going to test products from a general sense, that's totally cool. Like Brad said, use a funnel, build out a funnel. You can easily duplicate that funnel, swap products, change a few things around, test that, and then roll into your store. Now, speaking of the store, Brad, we kind of touched on a few different things. Let's touch on a couple of the pages that people seem to screw up the most. We'll work our way front to back, even though that's not normally how we optimize, but let's start with the homepage. So what are some very common mistakes that beginners and sometimes advanced people are making on their homepage?
Yep. We see this even with Ecom Insiders when we do like our jam session reviews and things like that. Yep. So it's not just beginners, but really it's the above the fold space. And above the fold is basically like when you go to the page, that's what you see on your screen without having to scroll down. So it's called above the fold. Mm-hmm. And what you want to do is you want the customer to instantly know just within seconds, knowing what your page is about and what your value proposition is. That they're in the right place, what you do, why they should buy from you. And then the goal is to move them on down to like a category or a product page. But the common mistake is just like horrible above the fold experience. And that's usually like your main image banner that may have nothing to do with your site, or at least not really convey what your site's about, with no kind of value propositions, no reason why to buy from you. And we haven't had one recently that I saw that was it's for dog treats. And they had this huge like photograph, like main image. It was like really cool, but it's like this black and white photo of like, it looked like this guy and his dog had been like hiking, and they were like at this edge of a cliff, and they were like looking at these beautiful snow-capped mountains, all these pine trees. And then the dog was like sitting in the corner of the page, on the right-hand corner, lower right-hand corner is a dog. About 5% of the image was a dog. If you went on that site and looked at it, you would have no idea, what that site was about. You'd think it's either hiking or maybe mountain climbing or camping or something like that. I mean, nothing in that image would tell you that site was about dog treats.
Yeah. And that's a big thing, right? A lot of sites get big into the artistic, or trying to make it too cutesy, or
right,
just cluttered, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing too is like the top menu navigation too. Usually it's just like a mess. You have all these links that really shouldn't be up there, like blogs and about us and things like that, it's really not going to generate any revenue. The worst thing is having like Facebook links, the links that'll actually take you to another site. You don't want someone to come to your site then just to immediately leave your site.
Totally.
Yeah.
So what about with the navigation, why don't you touch on that for a second? What is the purpose? Because most people miss this. What is the actual purpose of the top level navigation? This is the navigation, guys, that sits across horizontal, usually at the top of your screen.
You just want to guide your customers through the site and make it easy to find what they're looking for. And that's also a search bar too. I'll see a lot without a search bar. But usually you want to start with like your top categories. And usually probably the first menu item that you have should be like your best selling category. And that's really, you want to create a good user experience.
Now, if someone has, say, 20 categories, do they need 20 category links in their homepage?
No, they don't. And if they have that many, you need to have a good optimized search bar.
So what would they do if, let's say they do have 20 categories, let's say they've got, a search bar or whatever, but they obviously need some kind of top level navigation. What would be a kind of a rule of thumb that they could follow to post up their navigation?
Okay, so typically what you want to do is you just want to narrow it down. And if you know the 80-20 rule, where like 20% of your items make up 80% of your sale, that's really what you want to narrow down. You just want to narrow it down to your best selling categories, the one that's that's really generating the revenue. And honestly, if you have that many, you might want to narrow it down and get rid of those products that are not selling.
And there's always products that aren't selling, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So just.
Yeah. So we see that a lot, guys. That's just a little tangent to go off on. When people, all the time, and EI and Brad sees this all the time when we do our jam sessions, and he helps people with this, but they have, let's say they have 20 products or 30 products or 100 products. And they're like, oh my God, I need all these products. And we're like, no, you don't. And they're like, well, they all sold. And we're like, well, how much do they sell? Well, this one sold once, this one sold twice, this one sold 3,000, this one sold 200. And you get down to it. And just like the 80-20 comes into play, we're like, look, 80% of your sales come from these 3 products or these 4 products. The other ones collectively don't even make up 5%. So what if we just scrapped those products and focused your entire site on what actually makes you the money? And people think that by doing that, that they're going to eliminate customers. But what all they're doing is, basically eliminating the paradox of choice. So Brad, why don't you touch on the paradox of choice for a second real quick as to what it is?
Yeah, okay, the paradox of choice is when you have so many options that your customer brain freezes. They can't decide what option to go with. And so they end up leaving. They're like, do I want this or this? I'm guilty of this with my previous site, and then really dating myself, but in the early 2000s, my niche was heavy metal and rock and punk t-shirts. Mm-hmm. And I did really niche down, and really, this is getting off topic, but you think Led Zeppelin and those bands would be my best sellers? No, they were these obscure, really extreme metal bands. I just sell a ton of because I didn't have that competition. But as far as the paradox of choice, a lot of these bands, they'll have 50 or 100 designs. And you can't offer all those. A customer just cannot decide. They'll spend all their time deciding and then they'll leave. So you just need to narrow it down to maybe about 5.
You're saying each band would have 50 designs, and you have 50 bands, so you have 50 times 50 in terms of designs when they can't sort through that.
Depending on the band.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, and especially with the vendors that would actually POD or print on demand. Mm-hmm. So some of the licensed manufacturers, they will actually print on demand, and those guys will have just an ungodly amount of designs to choose from. And the worst thing is to offer all of those to the customer. Just narrow it down to maybe 5 best-selling ones and just stick to that.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so a little off topic, but we'll pull it back in. So we talked about the homepage, some of the mistakes. Are there any other mistakes on the homepage you wanted to touch on?
Those are, really the above the fold is probably the most common. You don't want to have all the apps. You don't want pop-ups. You can have pop-ups.
Selling on the homepage.
You don't want to sell. Yeah, that's another one. Is especially with drop shipping stores, really POD too. You'll see a lot of stores that will just have a ton of products on the homepage, and the homepage is not where you want to sell. They're not in that mode. They're just still, checking you out. So what you want to do is maybe have 4 or 5 best-selling products on your page. Have your best-selling categories on your page, maybe about 4 best-selling categories. But you don't want to sell to your homepage. That on your homepage. That's really for the, you want to send them to a category page, and then it will narrow it down from there where the customer can filter through your products and then go to a product page.
Which is where the only time you should really be selling to them is right on the product page.
Exactly.
So speaking of the product page, let's go there. What are the big mistakes that you see beginners making over and over again on the product page itself?
Okay. Probably the biggest one, and this is mostly for drop shippers, and I think most new stores are probably drop shipping stores, and they have their plugin, they import from AliExpress with their Oberlo or their Dropify plugin, and they don't change the description, and sometimes not even the title, and they import all the photos. So it's just a really bad customer experience, because if you ever go on AliExpress, you have no product descriptions. The descriptions are just bullet points of specs. And almost every new drop shipping store I see has the AliExpress bullet points of just specs. And most of those specs are people what? I'm sorry?
It's broken English too.
Yeah, it could be broken English. I mean, it's just bad. And most of those specs are specs that no one cares about anyway. So you want to have a good description. And then the worst is the title too, is like the AliExpress titles, they keyword stuff the titles.
Yep.
So you could have like, I don't know, 20 or 30 keywords in one title. It's just crazy. And you want to create your own specific, unique title that explains what it is. You can still have like a keyword or two, just don't stuff it with keywords.
Yeah, just keyword stuffing happens on Amazon products, but we still don't do that on a Shopify or an ecom store.
Right. Amazon can do it because they're Amazon. And then the description, you really want to write a description that will talk to the customer. So that gets into like, customer research, creating your avatar, things like that. But really, you want to talk to your customer. That and the image are going to be the most persuasive elements on your product page. So just create a good description. And that's going to help with SEO too.
Yeah, true.
If everyone has the same AliExpress spec-driven description, that is not going to help you with SEO. Google wants you to have unique descriptions.
Yeah. What else?
Okay, and then probably the title, no reviews, no review stars, and then you need to have some kind of UVPs on your page, and we like to have them below your add to cart button, which is like a unique value proposition, like how long do you ship? A lot of the stores, they have no shipping or return details on their product page, and that's huge. That's probably one of the most important thing a customer wants to know, other than price, is how long is it going to take to ship, and how long will it be before I receive it? And what do I do if I need to return it? Yep. So you need to communicate that clearly on your page as well.
And not have it hidden somewhere at the bottom or behind tabs or something crazy like that. Right,
exactly.
So you touched on it briefly, but when it comes to product pages, one of the other things that people screw up a lot, whether it's through importation or whatever, is images, right? We're selling tangible products online. Now, the thing about that is tangible products in a retail environment are easy because I can pick up this chapstick, I can look at it, I can see if I like it, I can touch it. Online, the same product, I don't get to touch it. So the pictures have to take the place, or the video, of me being able to do that. So how are newbies, beginners screwing up the images? How are they messing up how they use them?
Well, exactly what you said. They just use the AliExpress images that they import. And the bad thing about that is a lot of times AliExpress, you got to remember, in China, they do not recognize intellectual property rights at all. And so a lot of these photos, they could be ripping off other brands and you may not even know it. Or these could be photos, and really along those same lines, they could be copyrighted photos that they're using. And, you can't really sue China. I mean, that's not going to happen. And another thing to look out for too is like all the knockoffs on China too, like in AliExpress. You don't want to import those. But as far as the images, you need to make sure that they're not these AliExpress images. The best thing to do, especially if you tested something and you've got a winning product, is ship yourself some of these products. Take your own images, and that will totally set you apart from your competitors. Take your own photos. And then even with print on demand, a lot of times you're using that little mock-up that they have, but it's always good to have multiple images if you can, not just one, if you can have multiple, especially like lifestyle images.
Now, when it comes to multiple images though, people have a tendency to screw that up, right? With the type of way they do their images, or the number of images, or how many of the same images, that kind of thing, right?
Right, you don't want redundant images. So if you're doing a t-shirt, maybe it has a graphic on the front and the back. Have the image with the front, have an image with the back, maybe have like one or two lifestyle images with people wearing it. And you can do that with using sites like Placeit, like placeit.net, which is cool. It's got all these mock-ups that you can use, and you can just upload your image and they'll put it right on a person wearing it. And
go ahead, Brad.
And they also, another site, I'm going to go back with the dog treats. They had like a ton of images. They had probably about 8 to 10 images for like these dog treats, and they were all like the bottle, or they were different images of the treat. And these were like these were like pig lips or something like that. Something like really kind of gross looking anyway, and all these multiple angles of these treats. And it wasn't appealing to the customer at all. I'm like, where's the dog? Where's the dog eating this treat? You know, give me something that's gonna, again, you've got to create some kind of emotion for the customer so they want to buy your product.
And you know, it comes down to like, we've all been there, right? If you look at a product and you wouldn't buy it, neither will your customers. So that if your store, if you look at it and it doesn't provide enough information, enough good quality imagery and different angles and the things you need to know to make your decision, no customer is going to feel that way about it either. So you need to make sure you do that. And that, like an example, one of the ones I was looking for a backpacking hammock one time and found a site, looked pretty reputable and I found I wanted this really small compressible hammock that would get, you know, like a pound when it was all compressed and very small. And I found the product that I thought I wanted, and I clicked on it, and instantly I could tell that it was a drop ship product. I wasn't really worried about it at the time. The problem was every one of the images was of the hammock compressed in the packet. I never once saw a picture of the hammock out, or the hammock hanging from a tree, or the hammock being held up by somebody or being set up. So ultimately I had no idea what the hammock looked like, so I never bought it. I wouldn't have cared had it been drop shipped had I actually known what I was getting, but because the images didn't do their job, I couldn't buy the product. And that happens all the time, especially with most of the beginner drop shipper stores. And I understand, like, they've got 1.5 billion things to do trying to set up your store and learn all this stuff when you're new to it. But that doesn't give you the right to half-ass the delivery and the optimization of your store, because ultimately it's not about you, it's about your customer, right?
Right. And it's so easy. It's just so easy to import. You know, they have the image for me. I'll just import it. Yep. You know, so easy to do. But the thing is, you got to remember is everyone's doing that. And all the customer has to do is do a reverse Google image search. They just drag and drop that image into Google, and they will see the AliExpress listing, and they'll know that hey, you're selling this for $30, but that I can get it in China for $5.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, the reverse image search has really kind of put a damper on a lot of the drop shipping stuff, because people can really easily figure out how legit something is. And there's nothing wrong with many drop ship products. I mean, there's some crappy ones out there, of course, but it's about how you sell it and how you present it. You know, there's that know, like, and trust factor that you have to create in order to bridge that buying barrier so that they'll actually spend money with you. So Brad, we kind of talked about a bunch of different things around the beginner mistakes and stuff, but I want to also let you talk about the Ecom Academy, because I know that's kind of been your baby and you're pretty excited about it. So why don't you kind of tell us a little bit about Ecom Academy to kind of wrap things up?
Yeah, I'm super excited about this. I'm part of a team that's been putting this together, and it's getting very close to launch. And basically, it is probably the most comprehensive beginner's course out there today on the market. It is awesome. It goes everything from, like, if you're a beginner, or even if you think you want to start beginning, even if you have nothing ready from scratch. This gives you everything from the very beginning, from like mindset and productivity, to deciding on your niche, finding your audience, creating your customer avatar, to building your site, to awesome apps to use, to like what kind of business it's going to be. Is it going to be print on demand, subscription box, or continuity, or drop shipping, or private label? We go into email marketing, copywriting, Google ads, Facebook ads. I mean, it's so comprehensive that we had to create a course within the course.
True.
Because, yeah, it was like, you know, we start doing it, and we're making all these videos, and which is amazing. And again, it's about creating a legit business, not like a little fly-by-night like drop shipping. I mean, we go into such detail, but we're like, we need to have like a quick start course, just like a 7-day, one course a day mini course within this, to really get you started, getting your site up, getting products in it, doing some Facebook ads, and getting some sales in right away. So super excited about that. And the most awesome thing with BGS, with where I'm at, is I'm like involved in the build, the grow, and the scale, and all three parts. It's just really exciting.
Yeah, no, he's excited, but he's still underselling how cool it is. And we're not trying to pitch you on it because you can't even buy it right now. We're just kind of telling you what's to come. But the cool thing is these guys, they work in BGS, working on massive stores that they've all owned their own stores and learned through the mistakes, the trials, the trenches. They're using all the data that BGS collects from, this year alone, we'll do $250 million worth of sales in physical product sales through our partner brands and everything else. So we just know what's working, and we also know what's not working. And they're taking all that data, distilling it down, and helping people build that business from scratch the right way. Because here's the thing, there's a lot of ways to throw up a store and try to make money with it. The problem is those things only work for so long. And then you run into the problem of, it's like, okay, I tried to make some money, but if I want to grow beyond this point or keep it working after it fizzles, I have to now build a business. And making money and building a business through e-commerce are totally different things. And that's what Ecom Academy does. It's like, you want to build a real business that you can actually build it, then grow it, then scale it. Because you can't build it and scale it without growing. You can't grow without building. So this course actually takes that foundational piece and puts it all together. And Brad says he's working with a team. I mean, it's a big team. There's like 6 dedicated guys to just that are also all active revenue optimization experts. So, and our team is over 60 employees and team members strong that do nothing but this all day long. So when we say not a guru program, this is about the furthest thing from a guru program you can get. So, and Brad and the team have been, at least the last 6 months, night and day, kind of burning the candles to make this a reality. And it's finally there. And, Brad's actually going to be in there on a daily basis as one of the coaches, along with Jeremy and a couple of the other guys. Like, he's vested. This is his baby. So, and the cool thing is that it's a living, breathing organism. We've already haven't even released the course and have already revised parts of it several times. So it's going to continue to evolve and go as our data changes, because e-commerce is constantly evolving. So we'll keep constantly evolving the course. So Brad, I'm super excited to have you on here. If you could give one piece of advice to a starting out e-commerce entrepreneur, what would you tell them?
Join the beginners course.
Okay.
That's our term. Ecom Academy. That's the number one. Go and join. Come on board, because I think it's really to just have I'm going to go into mindset. I think. Okay. You just need to really take action. You have a plan. Niche down. Don't do a general store. And you can still drop ship. You can do print on demand. Just know what you're going to do. Know your audience. And just work it. You've got to take action. I think that's the number. I think so many people will just do a little bit at a time and then they just give up. True. But just work on it daily. It doesn't have to be a lot, just a little bit every day to get you started. That's back when I started, I had a full-time job. I would actually come home on a lunch break, and I had an hour lunch. It took me 15 minutes here. I would I actually wouldn't eat a sandwich. I would work on my site, and then 20 minutes until I had to be back, I would go through a McDonald's drive-through, eat chicken McNuggets on the way back. Not the healthiest, thing, but yeah, just a little bit a day, just take action.
Yep. That's great. So guys, to wrap this episode up, what you need to do right now is click below, subscribe if you're on YouTube, subscribe if you're on iTunes or Stitcher or whatever. Make sure you save this podcast, because it's a weekly podcast. We're constantly sending out new episodes. And if you need the links to subscribe, this is both a video podcast and an audio. So if you want to watch the video or see what we're sharing on the screen, you can go to our YouTube channel and see it there. But the easiest way to get all the links you need is buildgrowscale.com/podcast. You can get the show notes there, all the episode releases, and access to links to all the different places you can consume this podcast. And with that, guys, we appreciate you. Thank you for listening, and we will see you on the next episode.